Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Artist Spotlight Show. Special thank you to Creative Edge and Mickey and his amazing staff for supplying yet another amazing guest. His name is Doug Lawrence. He's an author, he's a mentor, and he's done some amazing work. And we're going to talk to him about how he got started in the business and what does he love so much about mentoring. We're going to find out this and much more as we bring our special guest in here in just a moment. Our show is being brought to you by Table and Mike Productions, Eagle Street Corporation, Biker Bay Barber and Company, and Music Dreams USA Radio. If you're an upcoming inspiring artist and author looking to get your name out there, please send your request to info.musicdreamsusaradio.com. And now, without any further delay, all the way from beautiful Canada, one of my favorite places. Now let's introduce our special guest, Mr. Doug Lawrence. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing okay. Thank you. And thank you for this opportunity. It's great.
Anytime I get an opportunity to speak to some of our friends up in Canada, I'm never going to turn that offer down.
That's good.
Yeah. How's the weather up there?
Hotter than Hades.
Tell me about it. This summer it's been a crazy summer. Temperatures over 100,
Yeah.
hot and sticky, and wow. Who would have thought that the summers would be this hot? Summer should be hot, but this is like taking a little bit over edge.
Yesterday, I went for a walk with just a beautiful, charming lady. And by the time I was done, I had to strip my clothing layers by layer to get out from underneath all the perspiration.
Wow. So all those clothes are sticking to you then, huh?
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us live on here. I appreciate that. But let's start off the interview. For people who are meeting you for the first time, that are watching now, we'll be watching later. How did you get started, and what made you fall in love with mentoring so much? And what are you up to nowadays? If you can kind of like open up the show and share that with us.
So I wonder, where should I start? So maybe I'll go back and I'll kind of fill in a few of the gaps. But I was a RCMP, Royal Canadian Mounted Police officer, and I ended up, after 25 years, I retired from the police force and had to deal with post-traumatic stress as a result of my time in the service. I saw lots of traumatic events that I had to deal with, and I had no support structure. So I was dealing with a bottle of Scotch whiskey was sometimes what I would use as my coping mechanisms, to be able to do that. So I ended up, got bounced around quite a bit, ended up back here in Saskatchewan, where I was job coaching university students, trying to help them secure employment. And what ended up happening was, as time progressed, the job coaching relationship morphed itself into a mentoring relationship that I didn't know what the heck I was doing, but I thought, well, okay, let's give this a whirl. And ended up, some of the college university students would say, you should do this for a living. We can't afford to pay you, but I'm sure somebody could. And so I did some research, saw that there was a place in we'll call it the human resource marketplace, for mentoring to have a place. And the only thing missing was the need for training, so training and certification. And so I said, well, okay, I'll run with that for a while. And I found a partner in the United States that helped me create the certification process. We did that, and then fast forward about 6-7 years, and I ended up partnering with a fellow Canadian who was based out of Calgary, and we revisited the whole certification piece and made it a lot more stringent now than what it was back then.
Wow, that's amazing. So, what inspired you to begin writing some books? I mean, I had an opportunity. I mean, you got some really good bestsellers out there right now. What inspired you to do that?
Well, the first one, I have to owe it to a guy that I went through basic training with the RCMP with. He was writing a book called Notes from Papa, and it was uh, it was therapeutic type material that he would write a note to his parent or to his kids every morning to sort of help them get their day started in the right note. And so he took all of his notes that he called it notes from Papa. So he took all his notes and smushed it, as I called it, into a book. And then he turned to me and says, "You're next. You need to write a book." And because I had accumulated hundreds of blog articles on mentoring and how the benefits and the whole bailiwick. And so I ended up I wrote the gift of mentoring, and we published it and put it out there. You know, it didn't. I used it more as a handout so that if I got invited to a convention or something, I remember I got invited to this one in Victoria, British Columbia, and I'd only brought about 12 or 15 copies of the book, and bad move, Doug, because they were lined up out the door wanting a copy of the book. So there was that. Then from there, I don't know what it was. The second book was kind of somewhat the same in that it was suggested, we'll call it that. It was suggested that I should write another book, and that the path that I should take a look at is mental health, because at the time, and still even to this very day, mental health is still an issue. And so I took You Are Not Alone, and it ended up being a book that focused on how mentoring could be part of the support structure for mental health, primarily for post traumatic stress. And so I wrote that, and I got it published and put out there. And then we went down that slippery slope again where somebody suggested you should write another book, Doug. And so Grief, the Silent Pandemic ended up it was a combination of motivations that got me going on that one. The fact that every place you went, somebody was dealing with grief. It didn't matter, grocery store, bank. It was, and they were very emotional. And so I thought, well, there's a way we can deal with this. We can give them some tools to help them deal with their grief. And so that's what I did. I wrote Grief, the Silent Pandemic, and we ended up getting it published and getting it pushed out there. And it's probably my poster child, if there was such a thing, because Grief, the Silent Pandemic ended up with 5 global book awards as a result of that. And I'm kind of hoping that there's a couple more around the corner, but I won't. I was surprised when the other ones came through the way they did. I'm still going to be surprised for this one as well. And the other motivation was the fact that I lost my wife to cancer, so I have firsthand experience of grief and the pain and suffering that we go through to deal with that. So, yeah, that's kind of the 3 books. Probably more information than what you wanted, but
Oh no, that was absolutely perfect. Thank you for sharing that with our audience. Now, you're on record saying, I'm going to read. I'm going to say, quote unquote. This is what you said. You said that when you are mentoring, that it actually changed lives. So my question is, what makes mentoring so powerful?
it's because mentoring is a two-way trusted relationship where both the mentor and the mentee learn and grow together on a personal and professional basis. Okay, so there's the textbook definition of what it's all about. But what actually happens is because you're interacting with individuals at various levels, personal and professional, you develop that, we'll call it trusting relationship for lack of a better choice of words. And that's what you're actually changing other people's lives by doing just that. They as time goes on, they start to reach out and look for you, ask for your help. Sometimes all they want is just somebody that'll listen and hear, and that's a probably, if there was one quality that I would search for in a mentor, that would be it. Would be the ability to listen and hear what the person they're working with, their mentee, kind of what they're saying.
Let me ask you this. Obviously, just like you probably did your homework on us, well, guess what? We did our homework on you too. So, um, here's my question. There's a perception out there that some people believe in mentoring, and some people are like, mentoring, but I don't know. It's like you can please some of the people some of the time, but you can't please all the people all the time. What is your take on misconception of being a mentor?
That's a good question because I don't know if it's the actual action of mentoring that is what kind of has people questioning what the validity of it. Where I think we get lost in the shuffle is we lose sight of what you can actually do with mentoring. So from how I can, a good example. So, and this is going to open a door that I sometimes don't like to open, but I'm going to go there. I have been brought in to organizations. I had this package offering that I would give to organizations, and it was primarily they were trying to get one of their employees who had kind of become a bad apple, and they were trying to figure how they were going to go about changing, and they tried coaching and they tried all kinds of different things. And then they called me and said, can you come in and see what you can do? And so I went, and did my little schmick that I usually do, which was the aspect of let's find what's the root cause of what's making you behave the way you are, and then let's create a pathway that we can go and do that. And I was putting the emphasis back on them to fix their problem, but it was being done with my guidance and my motivation. I would motivate them to do good, and that always seemed to work. Like I would do 5 1-hour sessions with a person, and I guaranteed in that 5 hours that I was going to have a behavior change for the good as a result of that. And there's no coaching, there's no nothing else that can do what a good mentor can do.
Which brings me to my next question. All right. I've never been a mentor before, right? But I'm really inspired about what you do, which I really am. I'm inspired about what you do by your books, and we'll get into the stories here a little bit later on in the interview. So, say if I came to you and I wanted to be a mentor, can anyone kind of jump into this role with a proper training to become a mentor, or is it really maybe a position where you just have to be gifted? It has to be something that that's going to fall in alignment for who you are and all that. What does that look like?
It's both. You like how
Tell me.
how I go about it and the techniques and stuff that I use. I was gifted, but I also know of other people that are good mentors, but they're not gifted. They have to kind of dig and scratch and claw and do whatever to work through there and make it meaningful. The biggest possible thing that you can do is number one is to listen and to hear, and the other part is that you don't know all the answers. So, don't try to pull the wool over people's eyes that you do know all the answers. I don't have all the answers, but I have the Socratic method, the ability to ask questions and answers without giving the person I'm working with, without giving them the answer to what it is we're trying to figure out here. Because my job is to help them stimulate their creative thinking and do it that way. So it's a blend of both.
Awesome. So I've got to tell you, before we went live on the air, I've got to tell you that when you come to the Artist Spotlight Show, expect the unexpected. Here comes one of those expect the unexpected moments. So
Okay.
sit back and embrace. All right. Of all your years of being an amazing book writer and an amazing mentor, are there any like funny moments or any funny stories you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, that's a trick. That's a curveball out of left field.
Oh, I've got to tell you, we covered the Toronto Blue Jays, by the way, the Buffalo
Okay.
Stars and the Toronto Blue Jays. I seriously do. So that was my baseball pitch to you.
Well, that's a good one. It's it would have to be working with, yeah, it would definitely be working with an individual who was struggling, and we went through Doug's process to help get them back on track and stuff like that. But what was interesting was that they said, "What did you just do?" And I said, "What do you mean? What did you just do?" I'm not mad at anyone, and I want to turn this around. I want this to be a good thing. I want to get back working in my company again. What did you do? It's a surprise.
Wow. I like that. Great answer. Great answer. And so as we move on with our interview, you know, let's say that there's some people watching now that are really inspired by what you do. Maybe they want to, step into your shoes at one point in time in their career. If that's the case, what advice would you give them?
I if if you want to step into my shoes, I welcome the opportunity to work with somebody to help get them up to speed on what it is they have to do. Your very first step is you're going to do kind of what I'll call a self assessment, where you assess your mentoring knowledge and abilities against what is it, 75 different action outcome statements, to sort of be able to say, okay, yes, I have that experience and wisdom. No, I don't. If I don't have it, where am I going to go to get it? And then from there, build on that with obviously some support from myself. And that's where we'll plug in, my colleague in Calgary who does the certification piece. I'll plug him in, and then we should be able to help you move along with some level or degree of confidence.
Let me ask you this. So we're going to switch gears now. We talked about mentoring. Now let's switch gears and talk about grief. You've heard the saying "good grief," right? So here is the good grief portion of the show. Give me your thoughts on grief. I mean, especially in a world today where there's just a lot of crazy things happening. People are under a lot of pressure, and it just seemed like what could go wrong is going wrong. And I mean, my guess would be that, and just my guess, that people are just under a lot of grief, under a lot of stress right now. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I agree. There's too much stress, and the thing that we don't think about is that stress is is something that is an inhibitor for disease and stuff like that. So if you've got, say, cancer, and you're still working or doing, things that are stress related, it helps the cancer speed up its growth in your body. And then that's when, we have all kinds of trouble dealing with stuff. when Deborah was diagnosed, Deborah's my wife, when she was diagnosed with cancer, we had to get her to gear back a few gears because she kept pushing, pushing, trying to do all kinds of things. And all that it was doing was speeding up the growth of the cancer in her body.
Wow. Yeah, blessings to you in that. Sorry that you went through
Thank you.
that. Um, Now, I mean, as I looked at this before I went live on the air with you, I'm seeing that a lot of the grief and stress is coming from families and within families and friends. What advice would you give them? I mean, obviously, each situation is different,
Yeah.
but it just seems like a lot of the grief and stress is coming from families and friends. Would you agree with that?
I, yes, yes, I do agree. The big thing that we need to realize is that when it comes to grief, you do not have to go on that journey, or you don't have to take that journey by yourself. That you, hence, book number two, the title was "You Are Not Alone." I wrote that for a specific, audience, in that I wanted them to understand that, you don't have to do this on your own. That if you can get yourself where, last night was a good example. Last night I was at a bereavement support group, and the the support that was evident in that group session was just unbelievable. And it was people that had just lost a loved one, had been 4 or 5 years in the grieving process, and all they were looking for was just somebody to listen and hear. And that's the big thing, is that we need to support those folks that are going through that time period. I I know because I've been there, and to ask the question, what should I do next, is the one main. Well, there's two. The first is the asking for help, and the second is making sure that you're in a position to be able to give that help, so that you don't disappoint somebody who is reaching out and looking for your support in dealing with grief.
Let's switch gears again. Let's talk about leadership. Over the past decade, leadership has really changed a lot. Your thoughts on that?
I would agree. I would agree. And a large part of that is that we're not providing the tools of our baby managers, baby leaders. We're not providing them the tools that they need in order to be successful. We're kind of throwing them in the deep end of the pool and saying, there you go, hope you can swim. And if you can't, sucks to be you. And away we go. I do quite a bit of leadership mentoring, and that's the one big thing I always try to do. I try to give them the tools that they need in order to be successful. So, is it effective communication? Is it, um, you know, getting them to understand the power of mentoring within their organization? The idea of how to ask a question rather than telling somebody what to do, and helping them discover or reignite their critical thinking skills. All those are things that we haven't done a good job of maintaining, and we need to do that now, so that our baby leaders, baby managers don't end up falling in the deep end and can't get out of the water.
Which is going to be my next question. There's a lot of like really young people in leadership positions, and there's people in leadership positions that should not be there. What is your take on that?
If you're not going to invest in your employees, in your managers, leaders, whatever level you want to talk, if you're not going to take the time, effort, and money to invest in them, then you're setting them up to fail. And I've been in organizations where that has been the case, where they've set them up to fail.
What about the young leaders? The young leaders in leadership roles. What advice would you give them?
Well, the easiest one for me is think about having me hire me to come into your organization and spend some time with you, and I'll help you get on track. As mentoring can do that for you, mentoring can help you get back on track in helping your responsibilities to your people, to your employees, to help them move along.
Who, I mean, you've had such a successful career. Has there, and if you had an opportunity to sit down and have dinner with someone who's been such a big inspiration to you, who would that be and why?
It would be two. It would be my uncle, God bless him, he's passed away. He was in the Royal Canadian Air Force, and anytime I got to spend with him was always a blessing because he knew what he was doing, and he knew where he had to go and how he was going to get there. And so he would be my civilian person that I would talk to. The other two people that I would, if I was going to be blessed enough to be able to have a conversation with them, would be the Obamas. I think that they've got knowledge that we're just not tapping into.
What about Donald Trump?
No.
Okay, moving right along. Okay, outside of writing and mentoring, what do you enjoy doing?
Well, the writing, the mentoring, spending time actually face to face time. I've been doing quite a bit of grief mentoring lately, and I thoroughly, sounds kind of demented, but I thoroughly enjoy spending time with somebody who is searching for how do I get back on track with my grief? How do I get back on track as a leader? How do I get back on track as a mentor to my own people? So it would be along those lines that I think that's what for me would bring the most satisfaction. That and podcasts. I have to be honest. Podcasts it's therapeutic for me, and it gives me the chance to tell my story. It gives me the chance to tell Deborah's story about things that we went through together. So that's what to be truthfully honest, that's what gives me the most pleasure.
I love hearing you say about podcasting and live streaming because that's today. I mean, a lot of people are still getting used to that. What's the difference between internet radio and terrestrial radio stations? I think people are now starting to understand what is the difference. If you were to take a poll right now, there'd be more people streaming, and there'd be more podcasts than just regular radio. Would you agree?
Yes. Yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah, I'm on board with you as well. And that's what I love about the Artist Spotlight Show. I mean, it's a stage to give professionals just like yourself an opportunity to come on board, tell your story, and it's your stage. We're just I'm pretty much just the driver. Make sure the boat doesn't crash.
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah,
know, I'm like the boat driver.
yeah.
But no, seriously, as we're winding down our interview today, is there anything that you'd like to share with our audience that we have not covered thus far?
I'm going to give you something to take away, and that's that, especially with the grief part of it, is that, it's okay to come out of the closet and ask for help. And it's okay to reach out, one hand, two hand, and say, please walk beside me. I need help. And if we can do that and do that as an organization or even as a country, we're just going to be in a much better place today than what we were yesterday.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. How can our listeners who are watching now, will be watching later, how can they get in contact with you?
So, two or three different ways. You can, I'm fairly active on LinkedIn, so you can DM me on LinkedIn. You can also reach me on my website at www.talentc.ca. And then finally, the easiest way that I always tell people is just send me an email and I'll get back to you right away. And that's doug.lawrence, LAWRENCE, at talent C. So the word talent with the letter C on the end, .ca. And I'll get back to you as quickly as I can.
Thank you for sharing that. How did you and Creative Edge get together? How did that partnership form?
Oh gosh, we've been together now for a number of years, and I think if my memory serves me correct, it was a referral. He was referred to me because I was trying to figure out how am I going to get this book out and all the different sorts of things. And Mickey's the sort of person that will go the extra mile. And if you've got some challenges you're trying to deal with and he knows or has a solution, he always goes the extra mile for you. So he's somebody that I hold in the highest regard, highest esteem, because that's just who he is.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Our partnership with Creative Edge just started not too long ago. And a special thank you to those guys. I mean, they've sent us some amazing artists and authors, and it's always been a great time. And so yeah, I'm on board with you as well. Mickey, if you're watching out, which I know you will be, thank you from Music Dreams USA Radio for all that you do. And so, as I told you at the beginning of the show, right? We have
Yeah.
line down. Yeah, we're gonna have it's gonna be called asking you to make a choice. Don't look so excited, Doug. All right, you ready?
Okay.
All right. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Why?
I picked the one that I drink the most of. I do drink tea as well. So,
Okay. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
morning person.
All right. Your favorite vacation destination?
Portugal.
Why did you pick Portugal?
We went there. There was seven or eight of us that we went there to celebrate our 43rd, 42nd, 43rd wedding anniversary. And shortly after that, Deborah passed on, so she never got to experience another trip. But we both agreed as we were walking up and down the streets of Portugal that if we could ever end up anywhere, it was going to be there just because it was absolutely breathtaking.
Wow, what a memory you're never going to forget. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. Seriously. All right. One word that described your life's mission.
Oh, you picked a tough one.
Well, I'll give you two. No, number two is my favorite, so we'll give you two words.
Okay. So can you repeat that?
Okay. Two words. I'll give you two words to describe.
To describe?
Yeah, like two words. Like for me, it'd be crazy interviewer. No, just an example.
I would have to say, and I did this here just the other day, so it shouldn't be difficult, but is uh, passionate, and I would have to say passionate, and it would be, I got one. That's not bad.
All right, we'll take that and run.
Yeah.
All right. What's one message you'd like every listener to remember today?
The most important thing to remember is that you are not alone, and that you need to reach out and ask for help, and someone will be there to help you. I'll be there to help you.
All right, my friend. Well, thank you so much for your time today. It was such a blast hanging out with you, and thank you for all the insight. And I'm gonna talk to a Mickey, and we're gonna bring you back for part two. Yeah,
Okay.
I think there's so much more that we could talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, time has come upon us, my friend.
Yes.
And but again, thank you so much for all that you do and your amazing career and all the amazing books that you're writing. Oh, but I do have one more question. What is next? As we already mentioned, right? You already have had an amazing career. What is next for Doug Lawrence?
A couple things. The first is to grow the grief mentoring practice, to grow that, because that I know will bring lots of value to people all over the world. And then number two is to uh, book number four.
Have you already begun writing book number four, or is it still in early stages?
It's still early. Yeah, it's still early. And take all of that, and I think that there's value to be had by myself helping others through speaking engagements. And I think I want to, not I think I know I want to pursue that avenue as well.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, my friend. You take care of yourself. Have a great rest of your day, and thank you for being a special guest here on the Artist Spotlight Show. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, our Spotlight Show coming to you live from Myrtle Beach, our location. Again, our show is being brought to you by Creative Edge. Special thank you to Mickey and his amazing team for bringing Doug Lawrence on the show this evening. Music Dreams USA Radio. We play everything for everyone. Biker Bay Barber and Company. Table and Mike Productions. Also, Eagle Street Corporation. I want to thank each and one of our partners for playing a big part in our Artist Spotlight show. If you're an upcoming aspiring artist, an author, you have a story to tell, send those requests to info.musicdreamsusa@gmail.com. It's your friend Russell K. Thank you so much for watching and be back with us tomorrow. We've got a lineup of amazing artists and authors for tomorrow all day long right here on the Artist Spotlight Show, which you can see live on LinkedIn. If you go to Music Dreams USA official on our YouTube channel and also Facebook, like our shows and share those with other people as well. We appreciate you doing that and letting other people know about who we are and what we do. Till next time, my friends, take care and have a wonderful day. And once again, thank you so much for watching.